I grew up on an island, Jersey, on the Channel Islands, which is probably why I have a connection, with marine and seas and coastal areas.
This was my boat, now it's my bed. Barkeel and stern, now a shell for my head.
My favourite areas are little bays. Plymouth and Greve de Lec are my two favourite kind of little beaches in Jersey. Just spend a lot of time running around the cliffs and going around rock pools.
Once fought through waves, now keeps rain off instead.
I seem to remember when I was in primary school, the first thing I wanted to be was a marine biologist. I didn't even really know what one was. We used to go and explore rock pools and, go pond dipping and stuff, and that's all great, but I just imagine what if we could listen to rock pools and ponds and things at the same time, what other avenues there might have been to explore in a different way. There's a lot of stuff going on that is outside of our perception that I think we can be willfully ignorant of, but I hope that by using audio we can learn to relate to it a bit better. I'd worked with field recording a lot in the past for recording the sounds of buildings. I think that kind of kick-started me into want to explore more of the hidden sounds of things. I wanted to explore marine environments and marine cultures around the northeast. There's a big reliance on coasts for fishing and for coal and the industry. I wanted to make us more connected and involved within that marine soundscape somehow, and make it feel like it could be our world around us. But I felt that field recording was maybe a little bit niche. I wanted to reach a bigger audience, but I figured that I needed to attach it to something that had a bit of a different outreach. And this is where I thought that I could turn back to my other work as a musician. So I asked Jez Lowe, who's a singer-songwriter from County Durham that I work with, and asked if he would be up for a more experimental project.
I thought it was a great idea. I'm a professional folk singer, long-time songwriter, worked together with Dave on lots of different projects.
Went out to the Farne Isles. I felt a bit bad taking Jez all the way up there, to be honest, because I felt like it was a bit out of his comfort zone.
Don't worry, but there's a fellow there with a pirate flag.
It led to our doom.
Hiya. After you.
Oh, thank you. Just to test its floating.
David suggested that I went with him just to see how he was working, and also in case it gave me some inspiration.
It's a little bit breezy and big tides. I'll make my way around the islands and try to keep you dry.
Grand.
Okay.
Great.
And take it from there.
Wow. Here we go.
Yeah. I wanted to blend his songs and his lyrics and his knowledge of the northeast with field recordings from the area, specifically the sounds that are underwater, and sort of try and put the two together so that the field recordings could be carried by the songs that Jez was singing that might relate to a different community.
Going out on a wild launch, taking us across that sound to the island itself, it was really a great experience.
It's like it's all been chiselled away, or something.
Glacier fruit.
Yeah. Looks like skyscrapers lit up.
Yeah. That's why you're here, you see. The Farne Isles is a really important site for seals. Some of us are kind of aware of the howling they make at night times on beaches, especially around Holy Island. I've recorded them quite a few times around there. But I think there's a big gap in our kind of appreciation of the quite how many sounds they've got underwater.
Right, so drop it in?
Yeah, I can do. I was so astounded by the amount of vocalization. There's 9 types of vocalization, and one that was thought to be a vocalization, but it's actually seals clapping underwater.
Dave actually was recording and then playing back to me the sounds that he's managed to capture.
They sound like dogs howling now.
I certainly wouldn't have imagined there's anything like that there.
It's kind of like high sound as well, and then the normal oink oinks as well. It's just stuff on our doorstep, these amazing creatures are there. Just trying to explore that from a different perspective.
Monk Island mariner, salted of skin, whiskery wise with blubber and fin, lazy and easy, basking and barking. And while blow the water and wind on the long stone, and only the silky and saint can endure. Bright peacock of light, tall as sky high, beckoning warning with twinkling eye. Our sons and our daughters go safe in deep water. And while blow the water and wind on the long storm, and only the silky and saint can endure.
I guided him towards Hawthorne Hive, which is like where I used to hang out when I was a kid, and I knew there was a combination of aquatic things. There was obviously the seashore, there was with streams coming down. There were also ponds from the old mining works at Easington, especially the old pit pond.
We're going to Easington Pit Village. We're going to visit the one of the pit ponds to do a little bit of underwater recording. Jez introduced me to these pit ponds in Easington, which I wasn't aware of. Introduced me to various stories along the coast. There's the Durham Heritage Coast there. It might be kind of interesting to explore how that landscape has changed and how the landscape of that industrial past has become a place where people go to explore nature, and how nature has adapted around those transformed landscapes as well. Cool looking things there. Mine ponds were interesting actually because there's 2 next to each other, and yeah, one of them just nothing in. I mean, it can be different day to day. Literally, one day you can go and nothing's going on. Next minute, there's just a whole cacophony of noises. Let's put that. I mean, it's magical. The freshwater soundscapes are incredible and not very much known about them. Because, again, I guess because it's quite hard to identify unless you're in a lab situation. It's like what you'd imagine sort of a rainforest to be. There's loads of different stridulations and kind of cicada kind of like noises and squawks and bubbling and all these things going on. Some things going on down here. You've got to experience it to kind of believe it. And one of the things I really try and do is bring that experience to people so they can believe what's down there. To spend ages just in one pond and collect loads of different sounds from the same point. I'm hearing every now and again you hear kind of like a guiro kind of sound, like those kind of those frogs that you got in school where the wooden blocks. So every now and again you hear one of them, and I think they're the water boatmen. I've just heard something then, and I have no idea what that is. I can hear a very rhythmic, sort of high-pitched ticking. It sounds a bit. It's very like a metronome. In fact, it's really, really on the pulse. I think that might be photosynthesis of some plants. It's a bit serendipitous, but I like that because it gives that chance element, it gives that moment of excitement. And when you're listening and you're not sure if anything's happening, you've got your headphones on, and all of a sudden something will just like nibble at your ear. and you're like, oh wow, you can't plan that stuff, and that's the thing with working with nature, isn't it, I guess. I find it amazing that you just up here. You'd have no idea that there was all this stuff going on down there. I just find that incredible. But this is a very small ecosystem, so it's quite easy to sort of attach yourself to, because it's just, it's one pond, there's all this stuff going on. But, if you expand that to a global scale, there's so many, so much we don't know. So we've got all these layers of sound going on, which so Birdie Krause is sort of one of the leading figures on acoustic ecology, and he described this niche hypothesis where you've got these different bands of sounds that happen together. So all different creatures sort of transmit on different frequencies so that they don't interfere with each other, and that's the issue is with a lot of anthropogenic noise just comes and sort of is broadband noise. It gets in the way of those frequencies. So there's all these other impacts that humans are having on this world that is outside of our normal comprehension. It's by the by, and it's out of sight and out of hearing range. So we just kind of ignore it. But by doing that, I think we're missing out on how our relationship with that ecosystem. Certainly not answering any questions with this practice, but asking a lot. I recorded the pitch shaft there at Easington. And just moving the contact mic around, and you've got a mic that's directly on the surface and picking up all these little resonances at different points. is great fun. Kind of like putting a filter on, you know, if you put a filter on your pictures on your camera, on your phone, and you get that sort of slightly altered version of reality. It's kind of the same. It sounds very much like you're underground.
This was my ball, now it's my bell. Barky and still, now a shell for my head. Once fought through waves, now keeps the rain off instead. Silky and seal, starfish and shell, each rocky cradle a secret to tell. Trickle and bring out your salt water well. Though I am old and life has been long, I'm barely a wrinkle on the face of the pond. Rain-filled and still, ever after I'm gone.
There are multiple things that feed into this interest in hidden sounds. One of them is from the more digital side, because in a digital realm you can zoom in on imperceptibly short periods of time and then start to explore what's there and bring it out and draw it out and start to tear apart the audio a bit and actually have a look inside. It's kind of like a microscope on sound. So there's that kind of element of the hidden environment that I find fascinating. And the other side is more from the natural kind of end of the spectrum, where it's more about how we place ourselves within our environments. I think having these recordings, it just opens up a connection that's a bit more fulfilling for me anyway. It's changed my relationship to everywhere I see a body of water. I'm just thinking, well, what's happening under there?
How much life there is below the surface of some water. It's an eye-opener, really. It certainly was for me, and I think hopefully it will be for anybody listening to it.
I'm not sure what will come of it all, but I'm pretty sure that it's worth knowing.
Welcome to George, deep down below, above and beyond, a prince among ponds, dragonfly blue, and startling views. Welcome to George, so easy and slow. Welcome to George, the friends and the foes, a mixed clientele, entertainment as well. Tears and laughter, the sound of Renatra. Welcome to George, what do you know? Welcome to George, time in or to go, shooting the breeze with the birds and the bees, needles and sticks, getting their kicks. Welcome to Joe's, let's get on with the show.